What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with a little bit of commentary about Destiny 2, and I thought I would throw my 2 cents in regarding the whole Eververse debate that's been going on with Destiny 2. I've been kind of sitting on the sidelines for this one, just watching from a distance, just watching the Bungie forums burn in flames with the hashtag remove Eververse movement that's been going on. But what kind of just made me decide to do this was I've been getting some comments on a couple of my Destiny 2 videos that I made where people are, asking me why there's such an issue with Eververse. Why do you have such a problem with microtransactions in Destiny and other things? And unfortunately, I did these videos like 2-3 months ago when the game was in a really crappy state when it first came out. And people are just now finding it and acting all surprised that I have those views on the game, but it's kind of interesting. But I wanted to go ahead and just tackle the topic of why there is a problem with Eververse and why there's a problem in general with Bungie's business model when it comes to the microtransactions in Destiny 2. In order to do this, I'm actually going to compare Destiny 2 to 2 other games that I have pretty extensive experience with. Another is a AAA title, and it's Overwatch. And the other is a free-to-play game, which is Warframe, which you guys obviously know I have quite a bit of experience with, and I feature that as a game on my channel. Warframe is free-to-play. Overwatch is a AAA title that is similar to Destiny 2 in terms of being a $60 game. It's also surprisingly run by Activision. Activision Blizzard is mainly responsible for that. For some odd reason, though, Activision's corruption really hasn't spread to Blizzard too much yet, so it's really kind of an interesting thing to look at how Bungie runs their game and how Blizzard runs their game. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. So basically, let me just start by comparing. I'm going to compare the 3 of the games and just talk about why there's problems with the way Bungie does it versus the way the other games do it. The biggest problem with Eververse in Destiny 2 is the fact that they have so much loot that is in Eververse, in the bright engrams, that's kind of hidden behind that wall. Whereas it's a loot-based shooter. Overwatch is a team-based PvP game, objective shooter. A lot of people are like, well, Overwatch has loot boxes. Well, the reason that it's not the same as Destiny 2 is because Overwatch is a completely different type of game with different core mechanics. We'll get into that as well. And then, of course, Warframe has microtransactions, and it's a free-to-play game. So, in Destiny 2, you have a lot of the loot, the gear that is hidden in the Eververse store, and a lot of this came to light in the last couple of months, especially with the Dawning event and the Crimson Days event they have coming up. A lot of people are looking at it like, oh, you guys are hiding all this stuff behind the Eververse store. Or the Bright Dust, the Bright Engrams are actually having to pay money to buy these items if you want them, and that is a problem when you have a loot-based game. Being completely honest, when I did play Destiny 2, it's been a long time since I actually got into the game, but when I first played it when it came out to see how it was, the loot was very underwhelming, especially compared to the first Destiny. And they also hand out all the exotics and all the legendaries like candy, so you get everything really, really quick, and it really wears out. Like everything wears off very, very quickly. However, with the Eververse store, there's a lot of very unique and interesting armor designs. There's exotic ghosts, exotic sparrows, exotic ships. There's a lot of cooler looking loot that is within that part of the game, which is unfortunate. When you play a game that's a loot based shooter, you should be able to get all this cool loot just by playing the game. You shouldn't have to go and grind these silly engrams for hours or spend actual real money to buy something to have an RNG chance at getting one of these very neat looking cosmetic items. And that is really the core issue with Eververse. You have a loot-based shooter. Loot is the core mechanic of Destiny and Destiny 2, and yet a lot of it is put into these loot boxes and just set up in a completely random fashion. And again, it's microtransactions in a $60 AAA title with massive development budget. When you get to DLC, you're looking at spending over $100 on this game just to get the base content. And then some people, you still have to spend money to go after some of the loot that's in the game because you can't get it normally. Or you have to grind countless hours to actually get these bright engrams and this bright dust. And that's really a big problem. The other issue, too, is Bungie did get caught as well throttling the experience gains for the bright engrams. That was discovered a couple of weeks ago, and of course they issued like an apology. They said something about how it's the system. There's a glitch in the system. The system's not working right, and we're investigating. Which they never would have said anything if it hadn't been caught by a bunch of people on Reddit and on the forums who kind of just noticed by playing the game. You said, we're getting these massive experience numbers on our experience bar in the game, but we're not seeing that correlate to what we're earning towards our next bright engram. So not only did they hide a bunch of this loot behind a microtransaction store, they also throttled back the way that you could earn the in-game currency or the in-game engrams in order to achieve it. And this is really where the issues come in. Bungie is just very dishonest with how they run this system. They're not upfront with it. They're not transparent with it. They don't communicate anything to their community unless they get caught doing something bad. And that is the biggest problem with Eververse, really, in Destiny 2. The other major issue with Eververse in Destiny 2 is Bungie, not surprisingly, though, with the way our gaming culture is right now, makes money hand over fist with these microtransactions. I remember in the original Destiny that you would go into the Xbox or the PlayStation store, and the highest selling item that they show you the highest selling item of everything they have in those stores was always the silver packs for Destiny. And I'm sure it's the same with Destiny 2. You've got YouTubers who go and they do, watch me open $100 worth of Eververse boxes, which just makes more of their followers want to do that because it's like, oh, look, cool, my favorite YouTuber is doing that. It's just a bad influence, and kids will get their mom's credit card. Kids are gullible. They spend all this, I got to get the cool armor, so I don't want to wait and grind it out. I'm just going to buy it. And they buy it all. There's a reason the system stays in the game, because it's successful. It makes the company money, regardless of if it's ethical or not. One interesting example of this is actually Mass Effect Andromeda, which they aren't doing any DLC for. They've canceled all the story stuff. Oddly enough, the microtransactions in the multiplayer are still making EA and BioWare money, which is shocking considering how bad of a reception Mass Effect Andromeda got. So microtransactions sell. That's the only reason these companies keep doing them, is because they are making money. And gamers, unfortunately, most of the gamers like me that are my age, who grew up in what I call like the golden age of gaming, when we actually got quality games, when you paid your full price and you got a quality game and a complete experience. You didn't have to buy the game and then buy $30 DLC and then $15 microtransactions and then more DLC down the road, like all this nonsense is going on nowadays. We're getting fewer and far between. We're sort of dying out in a way. A lot of people my age, have a family, you've got kids, you've got work taking up a lot of your time, and we're kind of fading away. And they have this new, younger, more gullible generation who is into all the social media and being popular and getting all the cool gear and all the items and having everything right now, the instant gratification. So the fact that they can just pay for something and just buy it right away really appeals to them. And it's just interesting to watch all that happen, to see why these companies, they get encouraged to continue these practices. They don't have any repercussions for it, and they can continue to just milk their community for as much money as possible. So I don't want to get off on that tangent right now. Let me move on to another part of this video which I wanted to talk about. And we're going to move on to Overwatch now. We're going to talk a little bit about Overwatch. A few of the commenters on my Destiny videos were saying, well, Overwatch has got loot boxes, and you play Overwatch, and you support it, and why aren't you mad at Overwatch? And I have been vocal a few times in the past about Blizzard's loot boxes in Overwatch, but I really honestly don't see a massive problem with them, and I'm gonna tell you why. We're gonna go back to the core mechanics of the game. Again, Destiny 2 is a loot-based shooter, and you have loot hidden in these boxes. When you go to Overwatch, Overwatch's main focus, it's a team-based PvP objective shooter. Loot has nothing to do with it. There are cosmetic items you can get in these loot boxes. You have skins for the characters. You have sprays for the characters. Most of it's useless, and again, just purely cosmetic. And the main difference is that Overwatch makes it incredibly easy to earn these boxes and these items by simply playing the game. You get a loot box every level that you level up. You can easily get, just playing an hour or two a night, 4 or 5 loot boxes. If you play in the arcade, they have it so you can earn like 9 free loot boxes a week. And the loot boxes drop credits in them that you can use to then buy. You actually go in and buy the items you want for each character. And if you get duplicates in your box, then it gives you a credit increase instead of giving you that item again. So it's a much nicer system when it comes to the gamer. In fact, I have not spent a dime on anything in Overwatch, and I'd say probably about 85% of the in-game cosmetic content you can unlock through those boxes. And that is the major difference. The major difference is that they make it very easy for you to earn it. If you invest the time in the game, you're going to earn the loot boxes. If you invest the same amount of time in Destiny, the comparison to how much you'll get in terms of bright engrams and everything it's not even close. You're just going to be grinding and grinding forever and forever. And that's the thing in Destiny 2. You have to go grind for it. Blizzard, you're just playing the natural game the way it was meant to be played, and you're earning those items without having to pay for them. The other major thing I will say about Blizzard with the microtransactions and the money they get from the loot boxes, Blizzard reinvests a ton of that back into the game. Blizzard is constantly updating Overwatch. They're constantly patching the game. They're trying to balance the heroes. They're putting brand new heroes into the game. They're putting brand new maps. They're putting brand new game modes. It's not like Bungie where they sold you a stripped out game and then they're slowly putting back stuff in that they took out originally. That's their whole live team thing. Like, oh, we're giving you back private matches. Oh, we're giving you back the factions. Well, that was already in the game. Why'd you take it out in the first place? Whereas with Blizzard, we're getting your money from these loot boxes, and we're actually showing you and putting in meaningful content that's free for everybody to play, even the people who don't buy the loot boxes. So that's where a lot of it comes into it for me. You look at the way Blizzard does it with Overwatch. You look at the way Destiny does it with, or Bungie does it with Destiny 2. Not even comparable to me. It's not even comparable. Bungie is just terrible at the way they implement it. So that's Overwatch. That's my thoughts on that. And now we're going to move into Warframe, which, of course, Warframe is a free-to-play game, which means you do not have to spend a dime on the game. You can download the game from Digital Extremes. You can play it right away. You don't have to spend any money. And quite honestly, with the amount of work DE puts into the game, sometimes you may want to give them a little bit and spend a little money to support them. But let's talk about Warframe. And again, being free-to-play. Everything in Warframe, with the exception of some cosmetic items, is earnable through naturally playing the game. A lot of people always try to say Warframe is pay to win. That's absolute nonsense. Warframe is pay to speed things up a little bit if you want to speed up your progression and acquire some items. One of the reasons I'm doing the free-to-play series with Warframe on my channel is to kind of show people you can play the game and not spend a dime and unlock gear at a very good pace. You can get new Warframes, you can get new weapons, you can earn some cosmetics through the alerts in the game, you can earn plenty of good mods, and you can play Warframe and enjoy it and not have to spend a single dime on the game. It's entirely possible with that. And of course, they do have microtransactions, and the other cool thing about Warframe is even more so than Overwatch, in Warframe there's an economy, and it is incredibly easy to become a trader, trade items, and earn the in-game currency through just playing the game. So basically, you can not spend a dime on Warframe, and you can earn platinum by being a trader, trading prime parts, trading mods that are leveled up, you name it. So let's just take, for example, I'm trying to remember off of DE's website. I want to say a 3,000 platinum package is about $39, I think, if you have a 20%. I'm trying to remember for sure, but let's just say, for argument's sake, it's $40 to get 3,000 platinum. You can very easily get 3,000 platinum just by leveling up some mods in the game and trading them to other people. Just by farming prime parts for an hour or two and selling them to other people. You can earn it so easily, and that equates, you can see what it equates to in the real life currency. And then you have that platinum to go spend on whatever you want in the game. So if you do want to buy items early, just trade a couple things, earn some platinum, and you can go buy it out of the market. So this whole nonsense about Warframe being pay to win, it's just complete and utter nonsense. And that's where a lot of people are like, you don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with microtransactions in Warframe because you don't need them. You don't have to worry about it. All the people who want to go ahead and buy that stuff, that's great. That's they can do that. If you want to buy stuff in Destiny 2, great. I think you're supporting a terrible developer. You want to buy stuff at Overwatch, that's fine, because I think that money gets actually reinvested back into Overwatch. And the same thing with Warframe. You look at the updates that Digital Extremes does for Warframe. Several times a year, there are massive 4, 8, 10 gigabyte updates that go into the game. New map tiles, new Warframes, new weapons, new quests, new stories. They just launched Plains of Eidolon, which is a massive new open world experience for Warframe, which, while I don't think it lives up to a lot of the hype, it's actually pretty cool to see the directions they're trying to go with the game. And you can actually see through playing the game that the money that you might spend on those microtransactions is coming back into the game, and it's actually being used to better the game and improve the systems and give you new content and new things to use and play with. And again, like I said earlier, it's just the fact that you can earn platinum in the game so quickly and so easily. There's no reason to spend any real money on it. And that's really just kind of what I wanted to get into with those three games. It's very clear to me, at least, when you look through those facts and you look at those three different examples. I'm giving you games that I'm familiar with. It's very easy to see why people have a huge issue with Eververse and why it's such a problem for Destiny 2. It's just, to me, it's clear as day. I've just explained it in this video, and that's really, I think the biggest issue is just the way Bungie manages it. Now, if you could actually earn most of this loot in the game, and Bungie was taking the money that they were using and getting from these and giving you these massive content updates for Destiny, like if it was an MMO type game, then I think you wouldn't really have too many complaints. But the problem is you get this watered down garbage DLC like Curse of Osiris, and then people are kind of like, what are you actually creating for content? What are you investing? Where are you putting all this money that you're getting? You made a ton of money off pre-orders. You make a ton of money off the game. You've got a very large budget for creating content for Destiny 2. What are you doing with it? Because when you see DLC like Curse of Osiris, you're kind of like, what is going on here? And I know Bungie's saying they're going to fix things, and there's going to be there was a new massive update they made today about how they're going to repair the game and bring everything back, and I'll have some separate commentary on that because I thought it was pretty funny just watching them spin their wheels again in another Bungie update, where they essentially, what it looked like to me was like, blah blah blah, we're basically putting in a bunch of stuff into the game that should have been in the game when it launched, and there you go, pat us on the back, blah blah blah. So that's basically the extent of their major weekly update they made today, which was supposed to save Destiny 2, but we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later, guys. Anyways, that is pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to go over those 3 examples and kind of tell you guys my thoughts on why I think Eververse is struggling and why they, people want it removed from the game, and to also answer some of those questions I continually get about why I don't have a big issue with microtransactions in games like Overwatch and Warframe. I think that pretty much sums it up. So, anyways, guys, as always, love to hear your comments on this, hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave them below. Of course, if you have any questions about anything you heard in the video or anything you see in the gameplay that we're watching here, which is a game called Stellaris, which I'm going to be talking about very soon. It's a new game I found. It's not new, but it's new for me, and I'm really enjoying it, so I'm going to be sharing that with you guys a little bit later. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again next time.